All right, Mike, I feel it. I feel it's coming. I think that we're going to maybe see some improvement, and maybe we're start to see some refinances here. So I think it's probably a good idea we talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's an important topic, right? Our last video was about removing mortgage insurance, and a lot of people relate that to having to refinance. Well, it can be an option, right? Like that we went through in that video, but refinancing is going to be an important topic. It hasn't been as much for the last 2 years or so in a rising rate market, but it's going to be important, and it's going to be important for each and every one of you.
Yeah, so I think what we wanted to do, Mike and I have been talking a lot about this, and we want to be prepared, and we also want to have you be prepared as well. So we want to put together a list of our VIP clients, and we want to get our clients on it that are looking to refinance. So we're seeing a lot of maybe a shift. I don't know if I could call it that right now, but I don't know if we would want to call it that, but we are seeing some improving rates. We've seen rates going up, for so long, every single day. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. And now we've actually seen interest rates come down quite a bit, and it's actually staying down. And the Fed's talking about some key points that we're watching, and we need to keep an eye on those as well.
Yeah, and I would touch upon a couple of things, right? Like headline news drives a lot of momentum. And so we've seen over the last couple of weeks, right? We've seen national averages were as high as 8%. They've started to come down to that 7% mark. In terms of national averages. Now, everyone's scenario is going to be a little bit different, but there were some headlines that came out that said the Fed was going to cut rates 4 to 6 times next year. Well, in actuality, right, the Fed hasn't said anything to that point yet, but there's a lot of key indicators like Glenn touched upon that show ultimately where the market is expecting the Fed to make those movements. And you can look at things called like the Fed futures that do see anywhere from 100 to 125 basis points cut by the end of next year. And now as that kind of comes out from a headline standpoint, right, it starts to move the bond market. It starts to move treasuries, and we start to see that improvement from an interest rate standpoint and get that good momentum rolling into next year and hopefully continuing to see those improvements from a rate standpoint.
Yeah, so as we're seeing these rates continue to stay where they are, maybe come down a little bit, one thing that's really important for you is that we're sending this video out to all of our past clients. And if the servicing of your mortgage has gotten transferred over the last couple of years, we are still your contact to help you with this refinance. So some of you have also gotten a lifetime guarantee refinance. So that is available too. So we need to look at all the options with you. Some options are going to make great sense, and some maybe they aren't going to make as good a sense, but we need to look at that, and we need to figure out like, hey, what's right for you?
Yeah, and I think that's an important part to touch on, right? Regardless of who you're making your mortgage payment to, Glenn and I are always here as that resource to help you through this, to figure out when a refinance does make sense. I know we talked about cash out refinances, right? Consolidating debts and line of credits, but it goes to what's called a rate and term refinance, where that goal of ultimately lowering that monthly payment. I know a lot of people that have gotten into a home in the last 2 years that, right, we talk about it, right? It was a temporary point in terms of high interest rates. And the goal is to always get out of that and get into your more long-term loan. So let's start having those conversations now, right? Let's be prepared from an application and documentation standpoint of what point does it make sense? Is it a 0.5%? Is it a full percent? So that way, when that mark hits, sometimes it's temporary, right? These dips in interest rates, we've seen the roller coaster that we've been on for the last 5 years, right? Ups and downs. And you want to be prepared because sometimes it takes that little kind of pause and to miss out on a good point from an interest rate standpoint. And so we want to be able to lock you into that long-term things. And sometimes it's a 2-step process, right? We see a drop in rates, and then 6-9 months later, we see another drop in rates. So don't get deterred by that as well, kind of waiting for that ultimate perfect moment. We have to do it when it makes sense to seize and that monthly payment savings makes sense for you.
Yeah, and I think that, we have advised all of you to, when you were looking at closing your mortgage, we gave you the rate strategies, we gave you those options, and we were always advising to not pay points. And if we were paying points, that money that it was costing you for that not to come from your pocket, if that came from the seller's pocket, great. That was what we were trying to set up. And we were trying to set that up for this time right now, where we're seeing interest rates come down, we're seeing a refinance, and we don't have to do this calculation to see if you broke even or if you've made that money back that you originally paid up front. So a great opportunity here to be able to do that. And now, we'll look at this, and yeah, I think like what you're saying, Mike, I think you're exactly right. I think I see two refinances in place here. One is just rates were high, and we need, our clients need a little bit of relief. So help them with that refinance now, and then we'll continue to see rates go down. We start that clock over for the lifetime guarantee. So after 12 months, we can definitely be looking at this to see if it makes sense. We pay your lender costs on that refinance, make it very affordable, and makes it, you get into more of that long-term loan, more of that forever loan that you're saying that's going to last for a long time for you.
Yeah. And so the key is, right, reaching out, getting in touch with us in terms of being on that VIP list so that we know, right, who to proactively reach out to very quickly as we see rates coming down. But then also using tools that we've offered, right? Through the purchase process, we use a tool that's called Rate Alert that keeps you up to date on market movements. So if you want to be on that, right, that'll help kind of gauge where the market's moving and where rates are trending. Doesn't give you your personal scenario, right? And that same thing goes to our HomeBot newsletter, kind of gauging your home value. Not 100% accurate, right? But you can see that equity growing. And it does give national averages from an interest rate standpoint as well, just so you see these trends. And we kind of have these conversations of, okay, what are we looking for, right? What is that movement that we need to see to be in that refinance, kind of that money spot, to be able to capitalize on it. So there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of websites out there. Be cautious of everything we see online, right? It's not always what we see and what it actually comes out to be. So use the tools that we offer to be able to help and really find that right spot.
And I think the overall point here is let's just be prepared, right? Like, let's make sure that we know, because the window for this refinance can be small. Like, we can see rates take a nice little drop, and we need to capitalize on that on that day, because we might see it bounce back up again. So, making sure that we're ready. Mike mentioned documents and all of that, but if nothing else, let's be looking at those numbers to see when does it make sense? At what point would it make sense for this refinance, so that we can have you on that list and we can be able to capitalize on the market at that point.
Well, we preach being proactive when we were in that buying process, right? And being overly prepared. And that goes same thing to a refinance standpoint, right? We're only in the first inning, right, of really just that headline news. And that's why we want to get this out there, because, right, you're seeing it. You're seeing it on social media, right? You're seeing what the Fed's doing, right? That's just what's easy to be marketed. And we want you to know what's the truth behind that. And sometimes, yes, we did see some movement, but sometimes it's not as large as they make it out to be. So we want you to just kind of be in the know on truly what's happening in the market.
Yeah. So let us know if you have any interest in this, and we can start looking at what point does it make sense for us. Reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking. We also, Mike, one last thing that we didn't talk about is also part of this is, how long are you feeling like you're going to be living in this property? Because just because rates go down, maybe that doesn't make sense. So we need to be looking at that last piece as well. Because I know we have a lot of clients that might be in that spot too, where it's like, hey, a lower payment would be great, but hey, I'm kind of bursting at the seams here, or maybe I need to make a move.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's the conversations are endless that can be had, right? And that's why we've started this series, because there's a lot of things that happen with home. It's a tool that can help and be leveraged in a lot of different ways.
So we look forward to seeing you on the list, and we're here to help you answer any of these questions as always. And thanks for joining us, and look forward to catching you on the next one.
Have a good one.
All right, before I stop, do you want to cut anything out, or do you want to add more at the end? I didn't know where we wanted to go at the end.
No, I think that was fine.
Okay, I'm going to stop it.